Learning English has never been easier.
Get 1% better every day with TEEP, the Easy English podcast.
I'm Lucas.
I'm Emma.
Hey everyone. Thanks for joining us as we deep dive into some really engaging language work. Yeah, we're talking about practicing the preposition for with adjectives, as Lucas did. It's like, structured and rhythmic.
Right? It's interesting how, the lesson lays out a bunch of adjectives connected with for, like famous for, responsible for, ready for, and many more.
Exactly. And what I find cool is that each example is repeated 3 times. That repetition is, well, it's like practice with a steady beat, you know?
Absolutely. The repetition really reinforces the phrase patterns. I mean, think about it. When you hear the city is famous for its food 3 times, it etches the structure deep in your mind.
Yeah, it's like an anchor. You get used to how adjectives combine with for. It's a neat trick for language learners to feel natural with the phrasing.
Right. And get this, the lesson doesn't just stop at 1, it covers a range from famous for to prepared for and even thirsty for. It, really gives you a spectrum of usage in everyday conversation, doesn't it?
Exactly. It's a veritable buffet of adjectives. I mean, think about the way it uses responsible for and grateful for. It's almost like each example is a mini conversation.
Yep. I'm curious though, don't you think the over-repetition might, get a bit redundant sometimes? Like, if a learner hears the sentence 3 times in a row, might it get a little monotonous?
That's a good point. I get what you're saying. But honestly, repetition in language learning, it's like a drill instructor. The redundancy helps cement the structure in your brain.
Yeah, I can see that argument. It's just that, sometimes you might want a bit more variety so that learners can, practice in different contexts. But then again, for beginners, this repetitive approach might hit the mark perfectly.
Right? It's all about the audience. For those new to the structure, hearing they're responsible for the mistake or she's ready for the test multiple times can really drive home the point.
And what's clever is how Lucas mixes adjectives that carry different connotations. Like, good for versus bad for, it not only gives you the pattern, but it also subtly hints at the idea of contrasting concepts.
Absolutely. It's like designing a language workout. First you flex with exercise is good for your health, then you get a little nudge with too much sugar is bad for you. It puts them side by side so you can easily contrast and absorb both positive and negative applications.
And then there's perfect for and suitable for. It's like, saying something is optimally matched for a need, like how this dress is perfect for the party or this book is suitable for beginners. It gives a whole dimension of clarity in description.
Right, it's like being a chef. Each ingredient or adjective is chosen specifically to match up with the preposition for, creating clear, flavorful expressions.
I really like how the examples evolve. Notice how, later on, you get hungry for knowledge and thirsty for adventure. It's almost poetic, the way they channel desire and readiness into language.
Absolutely, and those are such evocative phrases. They inspire imagery, like someone who is practically craving a life-changing experience. It's way beyond just grammar. It's about expression and emotion too.
Right. And then there's fit for, this room is fit for a king. I love that one. It's such a vivid image, like you're stepping into something grand, even if it's just a room.
Exactly, it paints a picture. It's like when you describe something that's exceptionally high quality and it almost elevates the entire context. It's both memorable and emphatic.
Yep. It's interesting how some adjectives appear more than once in the lesson. For instance, famous for is mentioned in different examples, the city and then later with paintings and desserts. It really underscores that these expressions have broad applications in everyday language, don't you think?
That's That's true. Repetition across different examples, even with the same adjective like famous for, pushes home the point that context matters. It's like, well, you know the formula remains the same, but the subject can change drastically.
Right, and it's a solid strategy to show learners the uniformity in language patterns across diverse subjects, food, art, and even personal qualities like kindness.
Exactly, and think about prepared for or ready for. Both imply a state of readiness, but the context can shift from tests, meetings, to challenges. It teaches flexibility.
Not to mention phrases like grateful for and thankful for, which bring in the emotional layers, right? They add value to the expressions by showing feelings and, attitudes toward people or situations.
Totally, and that emotional nuance is what makes the language rich. The repetition aids retention, and it helps learners plug these expressions into their own daily chats.
Right on. And it's, also nice how even though the examples are repeated, the intensity of repetition reinforces pronunciation, especially with the natural rhythm of English. I mean, it's almost musical in a way, like a chant.
Yes, repeating, "I'm sorry for being late," 3 times, for instance, drives home not just the grammar, but the sincere tone that's part of that phrase. It's like practicing an apology in, a heartfelt, rhythmic way.
I like that analogy. But here's something, don't you think that, without further context or varied sentences, learners might struggle to adapt these phrases into their spontaneous speech? I mean, real conversation can be less structured than these neat examples.
That's a thoughtful critique. I agree that in real life things aren't so neatly packaged. However, I think the foundation provided by this repetition is crucial. Once you get the hang of the structure, you can extrapolate and mix them into more natural dialogues.
Yeah, true. For sure, it's like learning scales on a piano, repetitive practice at first, and then you can improvise your melody later on.
Exactly, it's the same idea. You build muscle memory through repetition, and later you can play with the chords of your conversation.
And let's not forget the diversity of subjects. There's a mix of topics in these examples, from food and health to personal emotions and even artistic talents. It's very well-rounded in teaching practical language usage.
Yes, the range is impressive. It's like a mini encyclopedia of common adjectival phrases with for. And I have to say, repeating, "This tool is ideal for beginners," really drives home the point for language learners who might be beginners themselves.
Right. Getting back to the structure, it's neat how the lesson maintains consistency in presenting the examples, state the phrase, then repeat it thrice. That consistency is like a metronome, providing stability, a useful technique, wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely, that metronome-like quality is key. It ensures that learners aren't overwhelmed with variation while still absorbing the rhythm of the language.
And the simplicity of the sentences makes it accessible. You don't need a complex setup to convey the ideas. The straightforward sentences like "he's known for his kindness" are crystal clear.
Exactly, clarity is king here. Even "they're responsible for the team" repeats the same structure, which helps users get comfortable with using the preposition correctly in various contexts.
Yeah, exactly. It's a pretty effective way to practice. Though, I still wonder if adding a bit more conversational use, maybe situational examples, would complement this repetition even more. What do you think?
I can see that, but honestly, for a targeted practice session, focusing solely on the syntax and rhythm, the repetition works brilliantly. Once a learner masters this, then they can experiment more in real-world conversations.
That makes sense. So, overall, Lucas's approach of looping through examples, not just one, but 35 different instances, is a robust training method for ingraining the usage of for with adjectives.
Right on. It's like a language boot camp. You get hit with so many variations that eventually it becomes second nature. The structure, the rhythm, the repetition, it all builds up a solid foundation for confident language use in everyday scenarios.
Absolutely. And for those listening, it's a great reminder that sometimes consistent, even if repetitive, practice is exactly what you need to make a concept stick.
Exactly. So, whether you're just starting out or want to fine-tune your language skills, practices like these are invaluable. It's like ticking off each adjective one by one until everything clicks.
Thanks for this deep dive, definitely an enlightening discussion on practical language exercises. It's been fun exploring how structure and repetition can pave the way for better fluency, huh?
Absolutely. Thanks for the great insights and spirited conversation. Until next time, keep practicing, and remember, the more you expose yourself to these patterns, the easier
Right.
they become.
See you next time, everyone.
Great job today. Your effort and perseverance are what make the difference.
Thank you for learning with us, and don't forget to check out the next video.